she's on. We good, Taylor?
It's going very slow. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. This is the Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, October 6th. Welcome, everyone. Happy fall, although it doesn't feel like fall outside. Let's do our roll call.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
I'm here.
Ms. Butler Challenger here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Hagerman? Here. Ms. Kellerman?
Here.
Mr. Kotke?
Here.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Here.
Thank you.
The gang's all here. It's been a while. It's good to have the
Yes,
family
it
back.
is.
Item 2 on our agenda is civic reflection. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, end with a moment of silence. So please stand if you are able to join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now a moment of silence. Thank you.
Speak of the devil.
Item 3 is the approval of the agenda. We do have one quick change that I have heard of, adding the presentation of our resolution to item 6. We'll keep it over under item 14 as the voting piece of it, but the presentation we would do under item 6 so that our guest's family can scoot out of here. Is there anything else that we want to move around or add? That doesn't sound good. All right. If someone would like to make a motion with that change, that would be great.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the approval of the agenda as amended? Hearing none, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have ourselves an agenda. Are there any conflicts of interest folks would want to disclose tonight? Everyone's thinking deeply about their personal connections. All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Item 5 is public statement 1. This is limited to 3 minutes for members of the public, and this is designated for statements concerning tonight's agenda. There will be a second opportunity for public statement at the end of the meeting where folks can tell us anything that they'd like about the operations or actions of the township at that point for an additional 3 minutes. I see we have our first public at the lectern. Take it away.
Good evening, Ryan. Judy Gardy, Park Lake Road. Nice to see you, Al. I'm here because I appreciate the fact that you've completed your work on a strategic plan. I think moving forward for the next 4 years to have a plan to work from is really important, and I greatly appreciate the time and the effort that you put into that. I do realize in looking at the draft, I haven't seen the final one that's probably in your packet tonight, but it does put a lot of work on Karen, and I know Karen is already very busy, and I know that the additional work, I'm sure that there will be consultants who come on board to help us with some of this economic development work that is laid out in the strategic plan. I also appreciate the fact that the one thing I see in the strategic plan that you're going to focus on is the Park Lake corridor, which is very encouraging to me and the people in my neighborhood. I would say that the thing that concerns me the most about the strategic plan is the potential elimination of advisory boards. As you know, I chair the Senior Services Advisory Board. I often attend the Rec Committee. I'm always at the Park Lake Advisory Board. So these committees are very important, not only to me, but to people in the community. And I see them as a way for us to have input into the process, into the planning, and into the activities and the goals and objectives of the community. And personally, I think that eliminating them cuts your connection to the community, which I hope you won't regret. I know that there is a provision in there if you've got a special project like the Bath Fest, you know, you'll put a special committee together to work on that. But I think on a regular basis that you need strong community input into the work of the township. And that's the part about the strategic plan that I regret. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the board? All right, hearing none, we'll close public comment, and we'll move on to items from county, state, federal, and other agencies. I don't see any of our other agencies here. Anybody we were expecting, Karen?
No, not that I'm aware of. Thank you.
All right, then let's move on to the presentation of our resolution. We will vote on this resolution later, but I imagine the board members are going to support this. Do you want to talk about a little bit of background before I read it?
I would, yeah, thank you. I'm happy to have former interim Fire Chief Ben Zeeb with us, as well as his wife Lindsay, their son Lane, and their daughter Lily. I asked Ben's family here tonight because I think it's important for them to see the appreciation that this organization, Bath Township, this board has for them and their family. I think, as we all know, these positions that we sometimes fill, especially as police chief, fire chief, superintendent, are really 24/7 jobs. They often take the requirement of having our families support us in these endeavors so that we can give to the township. So as you know, back in April, former Fire Chief Dave Snyder retired. And we lost a great deal of history and knowledge of the department in that retirement. And so in looking at how to proceed with the department, I drew upon Ben's extensive background in serving our department. His family has served our department for many years. His dad, his uncle, his family has a township background and township government background in his grandfather. So really, the Zeebs have looked at township service and service to community as a calling, I believe, for them and their family. So he took some time with his family to reflect on if he could give us, the township, the time and the dedication that it would require, and decided ultimately that he could do that. And I'll tell you, did an amazing job in helping our fire department continue to move forward. Saw us through the assessment that's going to be presented to you tonight, the emergency operations plan that's before you tonight, and ultimately the selection of the current fire chief that is going to be taking us into the future. A lot has changed in the fire service, and I truly believe that Ben Zeeb is a dedicated, loyal individual. I know that Ryan likes to joke about him being from DeWitt Township, but I mean, beautiful service to this community, the Bath community, and you would think he resided in this township because he really gives us everything every day. And many of you know that he took an absence from DPW in order to fulfill these responsibilities. And I saw many days was pulled back and forth and never failed to give his all to both of those positions when needed. So I thought it was important to honor Ben, his wife, and their children for the sacrifices that they made in those 6 months approximately. I know that it has renewed his, I don't think it renewed the love and the dedication. I think it brought it back to the forefront. He has served our community well over the years, even serving as assistant fire chief. And I look towards more years of service from him and his family as they grow and change, and he's able to change his life and give more at certain times and pull back when he needs to. But we are very fortunate. Ben is a good example of what we have in our staff and those people that are willing to just do everything that's needed to help make us successful. So we could not be the township we are. The fire department could not be the department that it is. And I can guarantee you our community is better for his service. And I just want to say thank you to him and his family, his beautiful family, and thank you for moving this so that they could get home and go to bed on time. But I thought it was very important for him to be, and his family to be celebrated tonight.
As a parent, I was strict about bedtime, so I can appreciate that. I will read the resolution that we will again approve later, and then we can do some photos. Great, so this is a resolution by the Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees honoring Ben Zeeb for service and commitment beyond the call of duty. Whereas Ben Zeeb served Bath Charter Township and its citizens as a member of the Bath Charter Township Fire Department from 2010 to 2021, serving as a firefighter, lieutenant, and the assistant fire chief. And whereas Ben Zeeb has saved numerous lives with the provision of medical care and fire rescue and has received several awards and accolades for his exceptional service to this community. And whereas Ben Zeeb returned to the Bath Township Fire Department to serve as an ice rescue trainer in 2024. And whereas Ben Zeeb served as interim fire chief of the Bath Township Fire Department from April 2025 to September 2025. During this time, he selflessly stepped away from his full-time position as the Director of Parks and Public Works to lead the department through a time of transition and growth. He was integral in assisting with the search for a permanent fire chief and transitioning the department to the leadership of Chief Kunter. He has chosen to remain active in the department as a paid on-call firefighter to continue serving the Bath Township community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Bath Charter Township hereby commends the outstanding public service of Ben Zeeb and records its appreciation as well as the appreciation of its citizens and this community. The resolution is introduced and passed by the Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees on October 6, 2025, and all the members have signed. Or would you like us? Do you want all of us to come?
I think that'd be great. Seriously. It's okay if Ryan just does it. Come on, everybody. Gotta turn sideways. You might have to.
Get up there, Brian.
Right, get on the end there, and then we should be good. Yep, right there, perfect. Alright, everybody, big smiles. Perfect. You should have one with everybody's eyes open. And then, yeah.
Lanes and lilies. It's the little ones you gotta worry about. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, cute.
Lily. Smile. She's like, looking everywhere. There.
Quick and short.
That one little grin.
I was gonna shake your hand, buddy. Good to see you.
Again, thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
And your family, thank you for being here tonight. We'll make that official by the end of the meeting. Don't try to cash it in anywhere yet. Next up on our agenda is the consent agenda. We've got minutes from Senior Services and Park Lake Advisory Board. Is there anything anyone wants to remove from the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. The consent agenda does not include discussion, so we'll move right into a roll call vote.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kratky?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent agenda stands approved. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. Item 8, we have minutes from the Board of Trustees special meeting and meeting September 12th and September 15th. How would the board like to handle those tonight?
I can make the motion to approve those minutes as written.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Okay, Sherry. Got me first.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, comments, questions about the two sets of minutes? Hearing none, we'll do a voice vote. Are all those in favor all of those in favor of approving both sets of minutes for September 12th and September 15th, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. We have approval of minutes. Next up is the approval of vouchers, item 9. Would anyone like to put forward a motion to approve the vouchers tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as submitted.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the vouchers? Don't forget to sign if you have not signed them yet.
He looks at Sherry.
No, I'm looking at everybody equally,
They were all
including
signed. That
myself.
was the last one.
He did.
So they're all
I think they've all been signed.
Sometimes it's me too. Well, let's do a roll call vote then.
Mr. Catke?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Those vouchers stand approved. Thank you. Item 10 is the treasurer's report. We won't have that until the next meeting. Looking forward to that. There are no committee appointments and no township committee reports tonight. That brings us to item 13, which is unfinished business. Items for introduction and discussion. First up is the fire department assessment, and we have Gregory Flynn here for that. Do you go by Greg or Gregory?
My mother gave me the name Gregory, but I'll go by whatever you want to call me.
All right.
So Greg is fine, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Well, good evening. Good to be with you all tonight and seeing some familiar faces from the assessment that we conducted on your fire department. I know the report has been provided to you, and what the plan would be is to just go through, hit some of the highlights for a few minutes, and then I'd be happy to take some of your questions as we move along. My partner, Chief Rich Marinucci, is not able to be here tonight, but he definitely is going to his thoughts and our shared beliefs on the assessment and kind of our recommendations emerge through the written report and will also be reflected in my report here tonight. Chief Marinucci, who I've worked with for well over a decade now in both professionally by working in neighboring departments, but also professionally through consulting and educating executive fire officers really across the country. He really is an insightful individual, and you can see from his background, it's not too often you get to work with a former U.S. fire administrator, but he really does bring a wealth of knowledge to the team. This is just a little bit about me, and I don't know that I can compete with the Zeeb family that just left here, but this is what happens to them once they grow up. They're not nearly as cute and cost a lot more, but I'm proud to have two Spartans that I'm not far from right now, and then another one that's from that other community that, I don't know, we're a family that's I'm conflicted. But I have a real love for the fire service. And really, again, Rich and I both want to say thank you for allowing us to come in. And it really is wonderful to work with a community that is vulnerable in the sense that they want to have someone come in and say, really, we want to open up and we want some folks that kind of do this job elsewhere to come in and give an assessment and give some opinions. Really, that's what we do, is through these experiences in the different places that I've been and where Rich has been, it provides us an opportunity to give those opinions, and those are professional opinions. And so when we outlined working with your township leadership here, the administration, as far as kind of what are the things that we want to do, we really talked about having an understanding of aligning mission, ensuring that the resources, the apparatus, the equipment, the tools that your firefighters and EMS providers are using are in alignment with that mission. Looking where you align with guidelines, with these national standards that are out there, and they are a national standard in the sense that it's some benchmarking and things that you can work towards, but all of those standards are written with a variety of fire departments across this country, from big metropolitan departments to very rural departments that depend solely on volunteers to protect their community. Looking at some ideas potentially for workflow and improvements within service delivery and enhancing your overall protection to the community and really developing some strategies that may emerge. Now, when we look at what we do, Rich and I, our assessment, I'm not sure that it's like others. We really do enjoy coming in and sitting and talking with you. We had the opportunity to sit with the on-duty crew the day that we were here, and just, I think we're kind of surprised, like, well, what do you want to hear from us? Whatever you want to tell us. Like, we want to understand Bath Township FD. That's what we're here to understand. So our background brings us to having grounded recommendations in what is your current reality. What is this community's drive What are your expectations for that? And then with the resources that you have, how do we optimize those? Maybe there is tradition may at times be holding us back because it's how we've always done it. Aligning what your expectations are for your community and not always trying to say, hey, if a neighboring community is doing this, that must mean that we must do it this way. And that's not that we don't believe that you have to be the exact same way that your neighbors are. That's part of the reason why some people choose a particular community. It's because of your leadership and how you've decided to govern the community. So we look for that alignment. We look for the leadership within the community, not just the formal leadership within the FD, the informal leadership that can take place there, but the leadership that this council provides to the department head, to the fire chief, and the firefighters within the community. And then ultimately, as we get into some of the recommendations specifically, we want to ensure that they're sustainable, that whatever we're saying to you is something that is not only achievable, but it's something that is going to last and then be a grounded principle that you can continue to further develop and build off of. So we go through 3 basic phases. We go through what we refer to as the discovery phase, which is once we reach an agreement on what the goals are, we review and do what we call the discovery phase, where we're reviewing documents and reviewing your protocols and your SOGs, which you will find in this report. I was very impressed. That's one of the things that falls to me in our partnership. I was very impressed by your standard operating guidelines and the formality of your onboarding of new firefighters onto your team. From there, we come in now typically having some questions after reviewing all of that, and we have a whole day that we spend within your community. And we talk to group after group after group and get insights into what expectations are, what the current reality is, what's working. We really try to focus on that. And let me say that again, what's working. So many people come in and want to talk about what maybe isn't working or what is broken. And that's a very easy discussion. It's actually a harder discussion to have people talk about what they feel they're doing really well. Some people always seem to want to talk about the problem. Once we start talking about what people do well, it quickly emerges where they can improve, and that is kind of a back channel way of getting to that area that we want to dig a little bit deeper into. So those stakeholder interviews are very important to us, and they help us to do a thematic analysis of what we hear, the key words that we hear from each of those stakeholder groups, and really where the overlap is. And then all of that comes together in what we refer to as the final report that we're discussing here tonight. Now, you've probably heard of a SWOT analysis in the fire service, and in the report you saw that as a COWS. So the challenges, the opportunities, the weaknesses, and the strengths. And so one of the challenges that we, starting there with the challenges that was identified very early on, and it sounds like you've already taken a significant step forward here with the new chief, but that vacant chief's position does impact the overall department. And I'll have a few more comments about the interim chief when we get to some of the recommendations. The aging fleet is something that came up multiple times, and when we put our eyes on the fleet too, it is very apparent of the need for that challenge in the capital improvement plan. Your facility is a very nice facility, and I feel that at times when we become critical and we talk about these challenges, it may come off as I'm coming in and picking all of I'm talking about the challenges, so they tend to sound a little bit more troublesome. But, having the opportunity to have complete demolition of a fire station in my career and rebuild it, and in the current process of a $10 million renovation on a fire station that you would probably look at and say, that looks like a nice building. The reality comes in that when you operate inside of these very specialized structures, they age very quickly, and the things that we learn and how we live in them and how we operate in them change, and they cost dollars in our capital improvement plan to maintain the operation and the service that you give to your community. The staffing constraints are a challenge as far as people responding, and even one of the things that we heard, and we'll kind of overlap here on some of these, some of your interpersonal interactions of the staff within the FD, and certain officer maybe being on duty and individuals deciding maybe that would influence whether or not they would answer that call, and that was a reality. And it's important not to dig into and point fingers and live in the past, but to understand how important it is in the selection of your company officers and those that you're putting into leadership positions, the role that they influence. When you hear a first responder say, I didn't respond because the lieutenant who was responding or the officer that was on, the chief officer needs to own that and understand how that impacts the operation. And then, excuse me, and then finally the training gaps. And the gaps are a bit of a difficult area to assess because it directly reports back or goes back to the reporting of your training reports. So the detail on the training report can say, well, 7 people were at training for an hour. Again, not understanding the core objectives and the learning objectives for that training makes it more difficult to ascertain if we're hitting key components with an area. So you'll see that as one of the recommendations as we move forward for having some clarity there. We do understand that you have some opportunities already in play looking at your capital improvement plan and which encompasses your apparatus plan and facilities. You have, from the individuals that we spoke to in the operations side of the FD, we may say the people on the floor, the people that are out responding to calls, there's a great deal of optimism. They see, and I think we came in as consultants at a time when they were really at a high with that optimism and seeing a commitment by maybe bringing us in, maybe the commitment and decision-making of leadership to make some changes and to review some of the other documents that you had in play. That translated into a return. So that investment was providing you a return, and we started to see that in the comments. One of the best measurements that we see from our combination paid-on-call departments is the attendance at training, that willingness to come in when there is not a call. That is remarkable, and that is on an upward tick at the time that we were here. There is a great opportunity for a new chief. I mean, this is as a chief officer coming into a spot where you have a workforce that is excited and wants more and wants to train and wants to go on calls. This is an excellent opportunity for the 5 Bugle Chief to come in and be part of that. And the real opportunity here in our budget review, and again, all of these things are broad picture. We are not down in the weeds on every little purchase, but in that review, it did seem there were some dollars that could have been leveraged to be moving some of these programs forward, but that goes to the leadership, and that does squarely fall on the fire chief's desk to ensure that those things are happening. One of the areas that we talk about as a strength for the fire department is everybody showing up for training, but one of the areas too that can be that goes with that is if you're doing lots of training, that means that there's going to be paperwork and follow-up and entering all of that into a record-keeping system. That seems to be a problem. You'll see even jumping down to number 4 here, that the fragmented kind of software systems here kind of has things in a couple different places, and that can be very frustrating to one reporting system for incidents, another reporting system for your training, another reporting system for truck checks and vehicle maintenance requests, another reporting system for timesheets and logging your time on runs. This can become very cumbersome for your team that is giving of their time or getting compensated, but still, if you're spending a lot of that time in process and not in response and caring for your residents, that seems to be time under leveraged. So again, a weakness kind of looking at, as we saw, is the planning for some long-term improvement. Now, again, some of this stuff is open to interpretation. You know, I tend to be, especially with facilities, you know, any kind of renovation, speaking from my own professional experience, it's 5 years out to just start the needs assessment, getting that, building consensus amongst township leadership and elected officials, starting to get a plan, onboarding an architect. You know, all these things take time. It's not a one-year project that you're doing. So getting in front of that, we'd like to see a little more evidence of that for the facilities. We'll talk about it a little bit further, but you know, you have a big township and one fire station at this point, and there was some discussion about an alternative site, and having those discussions so that the community understands where public safety is going, and obviously coordinating all of that with the other first responders, specifically law enforcement within your community. And then overall, there appeared to be one of the weaknesses, just an overall communication with you all, with different township officials, some having a little bit more of a connection, while others maybe not as informed in the decision-making process. One of the things we find fire departments across the state is they are good at going on the calls. I mean, they end up getting the job done. The question is kind of at what price? And when we talk about, well, you know, we hear from the fire chief that we've answered all the calls, that's when we get into kind of understanding what answering the call means. And again, you can build fire departments different ways. You want to build a fire department that can put the fire out at the point of origin, within the room, within the bedroom, within the kitchen? Do you want to have a fire department that will put the fire out before the house completely burns down? Or do you want to build a fire department that will protect the neighborhood before the house fire spreads to the neighboring houses? So these are all different models for how quickly one wants to extinguish it. And you definitely have a group that is ready to go to work, and they would like to have some more people with them. And so we'll talk about that as a recommendation. But they are dedicated, your equipment is well taken care of, your station is in good condition and clean and tidy, and people take pride, the team takes pride in the time that they're in the fire station, and that is evident to us. I always talk about culture in the way that if I was to go into a department and I ask you what your culture is, I think that's a poor way of understanding one's culture. I feel like I should be able to walk into any engine house anywhere and I can tell you what the culture of that fire department is. If I see that their SCBAs and their tanks are all full, if I see the gear is ready to be deployed on a call, or if it's for some of our full-time or for your full-time staff, that I see that their gear is already on the truck, instead of, oh, it's 8:25, it shift started at 8, and I still haven't put my gear on the truck, but I made sure my coffee cup was full. Those are things that speak to readiness and culture within the community. Wet or dry floors, so on and so forth. And again, you definitely, in your budgets, showing that you, as council members, were approving dollars shows your commitment. That's a strength. Often we'll hear from fire chiefs that the council won't approve dollars. This was a bit of an unusual read for us, where you're approving dollars and you're not seeing those dollars spent. So thank you for committing those dollars. Now we just need to make sure that they get placed in the spots that you approved through your budget process. And again, a strength is always your willingness to have a group come in and do this. So as we move into some of the recommendations, I just want you to realize that the journey of improvement starts off with typically with some of these low-hanging fruit things that are processed. These are things that are well within the control of the FD and the fire department staff to start making improvements. I can show up on calls, I can attend training, I can sign in at training, I can log my training, I can do my timesheets in a timely fashion. These are all things that can be immediately improved by creating that buy-in and that culture and that team. So then you start to get into things where maybe you want to say, you want to have a tweak in a response goal or a targeted goal. These are things that are going to take a little bit more time. These are things that we're going to measure along the way and look for those to start to emergency improvement. We can have areas where we want to end up, and I think it's important in this whole goal process to understand that the objectives used to achieve the goal are sometimes more important and indicative and insightful to your culture and who you are and how you treat your people than arriving at the goal. The journey of the objectives, completing them along the way, speak to the leadership team and to the commitment of the community that's managing that team to achieve these goals. And then ultimately there are those dream goals that are out there, and those are big picture goals, and we think that those are very important to set. You know, what does the township emergency services look like 2 decades from now? Someone needs to have some dream about what that looks like, and that should coincide with the dream that you have for the community as a whole. So with that, I will move through these recommendations, and I appreciate you, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want you to have complete clarity on the things that we're providing to you. This is the opportunity that I would like to talk about your interim fire chief, Ben Zeeb, and there's not too often that I'm writing back with my colleague that we spend most of our time talking about one individual on your department. Ben was vulnerable, he was transparent. He made me scratch my head a couple times while you were even searching for a fire chief, because quite honestly, I think I said to him at lunch, I don't understand why your township's looking for somebody. You should be that guy. But I had only known him for 3 hours and had drawn that very appropriately confirmed opinion that was just, codified for me tonight with the resolution. So I too have had the opportunity to see people across the state and fire chiefs from across the country, and he's exceptional for the hand that he was dealt and the work that he was doing. The recognition was very much earned, and the respect that he has for both Rich and I. But that starts out with this leadership. I think he's really set the new chief up for a very positive running start. There's momentum in the department, and Chief Gunter is going to be in a very good position to move forward with that. And congratulations to him as well on very much achieving this goal as fire chief in this community. So there does need to be an emphasis. I hear about your overall strategy session for the township and strategic planning. Excuse me, but the department's going to need some of that direction from the chief, and so that's going to have to start getting carved up with how much time we're spending on strategic direction, initial operations, and really the financial management, the financial literacy of understanding what your expectations are on the budget, aligning your big capital purchases right away with that fresh budget once it's approved. We know the turnaround time on vehicles and these big projects take time, but understanding that you expect, if this is your expectation, that if a project is slated for a 2027, that we started in 2027 and ended in 2027. Knowing those things, the chief has to have a timeline that will align to meet those expectations. But those leadership principles should be legacy issues. You're teaching the up-and-coming officers that that's the expectation within the Bath Township, Charter Township Fire Department, and that will bring sustainability, that S in our goals, to your department. And I think most departments like to see that promotion from within. They like to see someone within the community that's been on the department, volunteer or part-time, and risen through the ranks, and then rising eventually to the 5 bugle chief position, chief of department. The fire station renovation is in here. Again, you have a beautiful station. I can see walking through it how your process is and how you live today, how your firefighters live in that station. The needs have changed, and with that comes the need for a needs assessment. This is something that we would encourage that you consider budgeting, and probably it coinciding with some of the things. For example, I would probably think it would make sense to do your needs assessment before you buy a complete direct exhaust capture system. And let's say if one of those needs assessment things is you're going to eliminate an apparatus bay, which you would not need direct exhaust capture for. Needs assessments are not, a multi-year thing. This is something probably, as you may know already, I know Ben was talking about an overall campus needs assessment, so this may already be in the works. The gear extractor is important, the direct exhaust capture is important, and again, just an overall, the reflection of how your firefighters are working, the station needs attention. Even looking at that mezzanine space and how the angle comes up in your fitness areas in a accident-prone area for fitness, and it just doesn't make sense to put your firefighters working out in August in an unventilated highest point in the fire station. Why is it there? It's probably because that's why it is in most communities. It's the only spot that was open at the end of the day because we didn't do a needs assessment and adequately plan it out. Your fleet does show that it's ready to respond today to the needs of the community. There is evidence, though, that it is going to need to be replaced. I think that there will be a discussion with the chief as far as what of the fleet to keep. I think there was some things in there that we feel that there could be some consolidation and some vehicles that aren't being used as regularly. I, again, am guilty of this myself professionally, that once you work hard to get something, you just don't seem to want to let it go. And that's the value of having someone like Rich and I to come in to say, it's time to let go. So I would, we would have you consider some of that to see if it's meeting the needs, and again, on mission for what you're doing within the township. So again, we think there might be some space there to eliminate one of those bays and pick up some living quarters and better training space in there. So looking at the fleet is going to be an important step. The training and records management side of things, I think I hit on this pretty well, but your training officer, and there's some things within your own SOGs that talk about a training assessment that should be done. But I would encourage you, and I'm sure the chief will already be wanting this assessment on the team to have good working knowledge of his firefighters, where everybody is, how many hours specifically in hazmat, how many hours in specialized trainings that may be very specific to your community, and understanding where everybody is down there. Think of it as a kind of a health barometer or a health meter, if you will, but related to training and ensuring you're good in all these areas of your overall training health. That will optimize as you build confidence within your team. That does optimize their responses. They feel comfortable going on certain calls because they have the training and the confidence to do so. And those reports could be coming to you too. I know that there were some annual or quarterly reports that you were getting on a regular basis, I think even from the previous chief. And again, some of that was interesting to me. I had to look up some of the reporting because I had never seen it before and kind of what it meant. I'm a pretty simple guy. Like, I just, tell me how many calls we went on, or we meet in the mark not about 90% of the time. If you want your firefighters there within about 10 or 13 minutes, 90% of the time, great. You're meeting the standard for your demographic within your community. If they're there in 4, fantastic. Achievable goals based on your staffing models. Again, you need to keep in mind, if you have responders that aren't at the station and they're coming here to pick up the vehicle, to leave their house, drive here, pick up the vehicle, get their routing, go to, it's not gonna happen in 4 minutes. Although people would like it to be that way. There's things that have to happen to achieve that goal. Your community risk reduction and stakeholder engagement, again, there is evidence with your, and again, I hope some of this is, as I'm kind of going over the talking points here, you're kind of a part-time fire prevention, also working on the staffing side. Those are excellent things that we like to see. Even thinking of different ways of engaging your other full-time staff, and I'm sure that'll be one of the things the chief will look at, is to see if you can leverage some of your full-time staff to complement what the part-time, what your inspector is doing, and see if they can help with re-inspects, for example. Anytime you're getting your firefighters into commercial buildings inside your community, that is pre-planning, that is getting them in when the building is safe, and that is good training for your firefighters. And then your other things, any initiatives that are going to be stakeholder initiatives like Fire Ops 101, if that's something that your community has done before, where you all put on the fire gear and you get to experience what your firefighters do, that's an excellent way for you to understand the weight of the gear, or why when they come in for SCBAs and they want an upgrade to a little bit of a better air pack with a better harness system, and that's going to be, let's say, an extra $100. You're like, I get why that's an extra $100, because where it distributed the weight was easier for me. And so where those dollars are going that the taxpayers have entrusted you with. So we look for you to continue to do that. Something also to consider here is the implementation of the Fire Corps program, which you can see more in the report. I provided a link. Everybody doesn't have to be a firefighter in the fire department. So if there are other things that you're doing in keeping track of capital assets, inputting data points, inputting training, you may have volunteers, people in the community that want to give up their time to come in and do those things for you and help you out. So don't shy away from that community support. Look for recommendation number 7, where we talk about SOG and policy review. While we did not read word for word every policy, I did go through and look at your policies. In fact, I gave the policy book to my assistant chief and said ours should look like this. There were some gaps that I highlighted in there and just said these are some things that it looks like you have a very good foundation, but there might be a couple areas that you want to revisit. Most of that is coming back. There's so much discussion about just mental fitness within the fire service and understanding the things in your community and having some policies and agreements in place. So not if, but when these traumatic events come to your 36 square miles, that you have a plan. And I think Grant Blank emphasizes that all the more every day when we see these headlines. So kudos to you there. It really is just shore up a couple things in there and probably touch and refine a couple that could just probably use some updated language for some newer equipment that you already have. And then just your, not just, this is a very important part, your people. We think some of the messaging, you know, when you say we're hiring firefighters, this is one of the things we talked about with some of your staff, you know, volunteer firefighters. Often people think that they already have to be trained. You know, thinking of some rebranding of how, you know, join the community. We will train you to be a firefighter, being very clear that you're offering the training and that you don't expect someone to have these prerequisites. Because as they drive by, you have them for 5 seconds to read that sign, and if you don't connect, they're not coming through the door. The onboarding process, you have really good evidence of how you check people off and what expectations are, so kudos to you there. I think that is in alignment and on mission. And we would encourage you to look at your professional development of your company officers, so your station lieutenants and officers of rank, ensuring that they're taking their company officer 1, company officer 2, company officer 3, and even potentially looking at professional development like at Eastern Michigan's Fire Staff and Command. We know those are big commitments, and we know that those educational opportunities take them away from your community, but we feel that that's a good return on investment long term. Remember, we're talking about sustainable solutions that will carry you more than just in the interim. Staffing is important, and you know, to get those response times and to make the reduction in loss of property and to save lives, you need to be there quickly. Coming up with a model to staff your engine houses 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, is something that should be considered. Even kind of all your staffing models that you have going now and pairing them with some part-timers in your career. These are steps that are moving in the direction. These are objectives moving you towards the goal that you need to set of whatever that may be. There was some discussion about should we build another fire station? And again, you contract with us to give opinions, so here's another one. Building stuff before you have people doesn't make a bunch of sense to a fire chief like me. I would rather see 4 to 6 people on duty here before I even contemplated building another fire station. Having another fire truck sit in a building with no people in it, and I have to drive there, I'd much rather have 4 people rolling out of here with 1 engine and showing up at a fire with 4 firefighters ready to go to work, even if that meant a little bit of a longer response time. That is one opinion, and it may not coincide with your fire chief. By all means, I defer to your chief because he or she is most in tune with the community that they serve. But those are things I would caution you on. People are likely your biggest expense. You can pay buildings off. You're never going to pay the need for the human capital that drives the serious outcomes that your residents desire. Buildings don't deliver that. People do. So then your regional EMS coordination. This is very intriguing what you have going on with your EMS system. You can see in there that, again, I think this is a crawl, walk, run recommendation. You know, shooting for career full-time paramedics in your stations all the time on your own, probably not wise, but partnering with some of your other municipalities, having your facility be a substation of sorts for co-locating services, but do not, again, our recommendation, do not grow services before you have the people to provide the service. Saying we're going to start providing ambulance service when we're not even necessarily covering all of our calls with the comfort level we want, or the robust staffing roster, we would caution you on that. So we reviewed the agreement. I think it's interesting how that's moving. Your team and your chief will provide better feedback on the day-to-day reality of how that is working. But these things, one fire department is one fire department. And again, I would not chase what others are doing because they probably have different factors influencing them. So then just overall collaboration and consolidation, exploration. And not always popular, local governments are very proud of their fire departments, and the thought of that going away and you sharing a name on a red fire truck with another community is rarely popular at first. But if you stay on mission and you're driven by outcomes, and we check some of the egos and whose name is over whose name in gold leaf lettering, often the residents are the ones who will win once we move past what most would see as probably a very juvenile discussion about what it says on the side of the truck. And it's more important about the professionals that are on the truck that show up when people are in need. And sometimes, and again, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but having someone else come in and help with that conversation can help turn down the whatever historical banter has gone back and forth between communities to just stay on mission. So, and then again, just kind of we touched on that, the regionalization of your EMS and what that looks like. Again, private-public partnerships can be a real success story. And I know most communities want to own everything and have their names on it, but the first step may start out as a public-private partnership and get success. So that is an Irishman giving you a 10-minute presentation. Questions?
Thank you. That was robust and intense, and I think exactly what we were looking for. Questions, thoughts from the board?
As we're going through this, one thing kept coming up in my head that would be a common denominator that would help immediately, I believe, is an all-inclusive software system for the department. You've worked with small fire departments, big ones. Do you have a specific package that you like, that you would maybe recommend for us to look at? Or maybe a couple to look at?
So there's a couple things that the chief will look at as far as two main things. You're doing your fire records reporting, and you have a national update that the state of Michigan's fire marshals just moved up to onboarding Michigan as part of the region here this month. The nearest upgrade. So it's a better data capture system for the fire service. So that is happening. Your software probably is already compliant because everyone has known about this upgrade coming. You'll have EMS components. Now the state is providing kind of low cost or at no cost reporting systems. These typically are not adequate, but they meet the unfunded mandate, or the funded, I guess, mandate at that point. There's a lot of them out there, and you'll have to look at them. That whole idea of a SaaS, the software as a service, where you pay as a subscription based on usually your run volume or your staffing roster. You can do everything from scheduling to EMS reporting to fire reporting with integration into both national systems. Vehicle checks, all these, and they have them as menu items. So if you want to do truck checks as well, they will come out and set up all of your trucks to be checked. And that'll be an additional annual service. The trouble I have, and I was just at Fire Rescue International, I think we were this year in Orlando, and it's just expensive. And then they put a 5 to 10% escalator every year for you in the budgets, and that's one of the things I teach in the budgeting part of things is you have to build escalators into all of these software as a service. Great thing about them is they're upgrading things as you go. You don't buy a version of software, you're always getting upgrades. Your station alerting can have software as a service, all of that. But there's more than a handful out there. I'd be happy to work with the chief if he's having any trouble getting one, but I think he just has to hit one info request, and you'll have more than a dozen that'll be emailing him and trying to get together. The other thing I would look at is if there's any other mutual aid departments that are using one, I would try to bundle the agreement and see if you can create some kind of buying consortium. That's another benefit. I think I talked about vehicle maintenance in here.
I like the EMS-esque
yeah.
package
And some of this too is like, what is your role? If you gotta have the hard question. Again, I'm not talking you out of service. I'm asking you to have a conversation about your service. You know, maybe some of these things aren't things that you want to continue to be engaged in, or have another provider provide the service, and then you don't have that. But they are out there, and I'd be happy to help make connections with vendors if needed.
The reason I ask is because in another life, I had innumerable software companies wanting to sell you, you know, they have a good talk, but I would like to see us have, you know, concise packages to work with,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
you're
or
gonna have 3 to
subscriptions.
4 that come, you know, that would very quickly, you're gonna find them in the region that are using software, and those are usually the best ones to talk to. If your neighbors are in love with their software, then that's probably a good one to go on with. Because then as you mutual aid, usually they'll talk to each other and you can share incidents and transfer incidents and do stuff because
Yeah.
it's all in the same software suite.
Sure,
Mhm.
thank you.
Other questions? I have a couple.
Sure.
Being that the board role is really governance in this space, how do you see us being engaged in this plan or in this feedback now that it's come to us?
Well, I think that the questions like, you know, the areas that you can be supportive is if software is your background, then, you know, understanding a SaaS contract, the software as a service, and understanding mobile integration and station, you know, just where data is living and how reports are generated and who has it. But I don't think you have to be a firefighter to do that. You don't have to be a firefighter to understand what you're buying or understanding that something's within a budget. So those are things that should be coming to you regularly. You know, a strong operations budget that says, hey, this is what we're gonna buy this year, and having line items that describe that overall budget. You know, that's how my budget is. So if I have equipment, I line item in my notes underneath that show where that $20,000 worth of equipment, here's where I'm kind of guesstimating that 20,000 is going to go. I'm not held, those aren't not as line items, but those are notes to you all to say, oh, the chief's buying new Nomex hoods for the department at roughly 25 of those, and is going to replace 2 radios, and that's my plan for 2020 whatever. And I think you having the confidence in the chief officer in that plan, and then the chief officer executing that plan and giving reports, here's where I am in the budget, I bought these things, I really underestimated these things, forgive me. I'm back here for a budget amendment, and here's my why. They did a 20% escalator on this new chip because of a whatever government action that has forced my costs up that was unforeseeable. I think that's where you plan, and I think your engagement of going down and saying hello to the firefighters on the floor and having lunch or whatever on a call and hearing feedback from the residents. You all are talking to residents on a regular basis. Are they happy with the service that they're getting? My guess is, from this community, they are. But your team may know that there's some gaps where they could be doing better, and that's where the chief will be able to elevate the services.
It sounds like, thank you for that. It sounds like you have not met with our new chief. Is that something you plan to do?
We have not had that opportunity to do that, and I don't know that that is in the plan. I actually do know that that is not in the plan to meet with him, so we have not had a conversation about that.
Should that be part of the plan, or is that outside of the scope of the
I
contract?
think we
Is
can
that
have
you're
a
saying?
conversation about if you feel there's some value in some kind of a meeting with myself or Rich or all 3 of us with the chief and leadership. You know, I think that from the sounds of the chief that you hired, I think most of this will make a great deal of sense to him. And by all means, just as a colleague within the state, I'd be happy just to have a conversation with him if he needs that.
I think that's helpful so that the material doesn't feel disconnected, issued by some cloaked figure that they have never, they've never met. I think that could be helpful just to create that connection. Karen?
If I could, Chief Kunter and I recently had his kind of 30-day look back at what has transpired. One of the items that I would like us to continue work on is for him now and I to be able to take this assessment and talk about it, start outlining some of the things that we can do to move forward. I also have, Ben is still here as well. I'd like him to talk about some of the changes that have occurred since Greg and Rich were here. We've already made some progress, and I'm pretty proud of that. And as well, for, once Mark and I work through this together, for him to, if he needs to do so, reach out and work with Greg and Rich to fill in the blanks where he may have some confusion, just get him up to speed, so he's clear where we're at moving forward. And I think he'll be very comfortable doing that. I sense a tremendous willingness from Greg and Rich to do that with him. But just to take this and start digging into it and looking at where we can move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you provide us a copy of your PowerPoint? I know it
There
says,
is power being in that middle seat, isn't there?
I know it says copyright on the bottom. We won't give it to anyone, but it was very helpful, I think, in outlining things.
Yeah, I'll just make a couple I just have some proprietary notes that we put in there that I'll be happy to coordinate with you afterwards.
We'll keep it in the vault, I promise.
Sure we will.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. Any other questions, comments before?
Very, very, very good presentation.
I've got
Thank you.
one.
Greg,
Thank you.
please.
And you have a lot to be proud of. I was sharing beforehand. Often we're and the whole place is packed with firefighters because we have to have a difficult conversation. I think you have a lot to celebrate here, and this was a refreshing report to do. I hope you still realize, even though there was some gaps, you have a lot of success here, and kudos to the firefighters before and the leadership before, and even recognizing where there were some areas for improvement that you've already taken steps on. So it really was an enjoyable assessment to do, so thank you.
That's helpful to hear. I think Al has one comment.
Yeah, is there any townships around here that share fire trucks?
Like if you have a reserve, and if one of your trucks go down, you have a shared reserve piece of apparatus that you
Or to a township like Bath and DeWitt buy a truck together? Is there, all I can see is problems with that. And I was just wondering, because wherever it sets, they're gonna take it out first. And then if you need it, you're second.
So we would look at what we refer to as stacked calls or simultaneous calls, and this is where it's going to take strong leadership on behalf of the chiefs or chiefs. The reason why I'm a believer, and I think Rich would share this, I know Rich would share the same thing, that authorities and consolidation work is because you take away the competitiveness of it's ours. It should be a comprehensive response plan. So whatever incident is going on, I'm guessing Ben will do a north-south shake on this, that if there is a big incident in any of these surrounding communities, Bath Township's going.
Yeah.
So you're going anyways, but these discussions will often stall out because everybody wants the what if the 0.1% of the time. That's not your current reality. You build systems on the 80 to 90th percentile of what you see. The own system that I manage, there are days where all of my apparatus is out. That's 6 fire stations with an engine company with 2 people on it and a rescue with 2 people on it, are all engaged in the community, and there is nobody available except our mutual aid partners. And then the plan calls for bump up coverage and they move in. It's all planned for. That's my job as the chief officer. So then often, and I'm not saying this respectfully that this is what you're saying, those that want to say it can't be done, I think are just fearful of the change and the success that will come from something that should have been done long ago. And that's reflective on their leadership. And so they're hesitant to take on new things because it'll just show that it should have been done a decade ago.
So you're saying no, there isn't any?
Well, I don't know specifically because I don't think your communities around here or showed any evidence of that.
I mean, you can take a look, if you're talking about municipalities, I mean, DeWitt Area Fire is a fire authority with 4 different townships. Lanesburg, Scioto, Woodhall Township, LSW, NISA. there's multiple agencies around that operate within
Yeah.
different municipalities as one.
It's usually governed by the fire authority though. It's not governed by a body that I'm assuming.
Yep.
It's not governed by a body that is doing the police department, and the library, and public works and all that. They only focus on, the three communities I'm under contract for, Sylvan Lake, Orchard, and Kego Harbor. They have their own fire board, and I report to them separate from West Bloomfield Township. So those three communities contract with West Bloomfield to provide services, and those three communities are residents. All we talk about is the fire department every 3 months. So they contract for service through West Bloomfield Township. There are multiple ways to do this, of which, great to have some discussion about ideas here, but this is where you could sit down and really get some stakeholders together. And again, my dream goal would be to get into a community that doesn't have 6 fire stations picked in locations yet, in a growing community, and go, what is the dream goal? And fire service is different than police service or EMS, you know? It just, there's some philosophical differences, but what happens is, if you start to get too many opinions that are pulling in different directions, it makes it hard and confusing, and it's analysis paralysis that prevents a decision from ever being made, and so you stay right where you are. And it's an effective strategy if you're in the position that you might lose something. So you make it confusing and hard, and nothing happens.
Thank you. This is
You bet.
incredibly helpful.
Mr. Supervisor, if you would allow Mr. Zeeb to make some comments as a result of this, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Chief Kunter could not be with us tonight. He had a medical emergency, but I know we're in good hands, so.
First off, thank you for having me here and for the recognition you gave to me earlier. But I do want to say that we have made great strides in the last 6 months to where we were when I started to where we are now is a completely different department. Staffing alone, we are almost full. We went from the lowest number of people to the most number of people in a very short amount of time.
Can you share that number? They might not understand
Well, we haven't got everybody sworn in yet, but I believe our roster right now is at 25, or will be at 25 when we get everybody sworn in that's kind of gone through the background checks and physicals for paid on call. Now, we're also hiring 2 more additional full-time staff. We're in the process of that right now, going through we'll be doing a physical agility test this week and a round of interviews and selecting 2 more full-time people, so we will be staffed 24 hours, 12-hour shifts, but we will have 24-hour coverage with additional paid on call part-time shift with that full-time shift partnered at 4 hours. So we'll have 1 part-time shift per shift, if you will, per full-time shift. We've made significant improvements on our apparatus status. Everything currently is in service and operational. Like Greg said, it is aging, and you guys are all aware of that. Ray, to your point, we've signed a contract with ImageTrend for our software, which is going to consolidate our EMS reporting, our fire reporting, fire prevention, pre-planning, scheduling, apparatus checks, all into one platform. So we're not using multiple different platforms and reporting systems and trying to keep track of paper records. Payroll will also be incorporated into that. So we're moving in the right direction, and I'm really proud of where I brought this department. And there's no way that I could have done it without your support and without the firefighters' support. We've banded together. Morale is high. It doesn't go without bumps and bruises along the way. We knew that going into it, but I do feel very proud of where I kind of left my interim with Chief Cooner. I've known Chief Cooner for a very long time, and I'm excited to work with him and grow this department into the dream goal.
So you knew him before he came here?
Yeah, he retired out of East Lansing Fire.
Oh, okay.
As a
That's
deputy
right.
chief. He was there for 26 years.
We have talked a time or two on the board about getting a secretary for down there. Do you think that is needed, or a part-time person to help with all your paperwork and controlling your computers?
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of data entry that, as my experience in the interim, was overwhelming. I brought a stack of, 120 reports or so every month that had to manually be entered into one of these archaic software systems that we're using.
And you had to do that?
I delegated that.
Oh.
That's what was happening.
Yeah.
Previous chief was
Previous
entering
chief
them.
and
But
one
you
person
didn't-
were entering them
You didn't
all.
have an administrative person to do that?
We have dedicated some hours for that
Yeah.
data entry, and it has been very helpful to get that off. I don't believe that's what the chief should be spending their time doing.
No.
And again, that's just the way that we did it forever. And we have to look at different opportunities and recognize our growth in the population and our call volume. The chief can't be spending hours and hours doing data entry and reporting. With the reporting system, it will be streamlined with our dispatch also, so when our dispatch information is sent out, we should be able to pull that information directly into our reporting system and also cut down on reporting time. It will automatically be uploaded to the nearest system, which is the federal reporting system for fires, the new one right now with NFIRS, but that should all be streamlined. You guys have any other questions for me? Take a stab at them.
Just personal interest, is there a timeline for that 24/7 coverage that you spoke about? When it's going to be fully operational?
We're hoping by November.
Oh,
So we're in the middle, we've received 28 applications for actually three positions. We had one of our full-timers leave, so we're actually backfilling one of those positions and then adding in 2 more additional. So hopefully this hiring process, we've already narrowed it down to the people that are invited to the agility test, and then we'll interview them once the background checks. Hopefully we'll be able to fill all 3 positions and have 24-hour coverage within a month or 2.
I think that's something that the board has not understood is happening, that we are moving from 2 to 4 full-time folks. And you'll see that in the budget that has been proposed to us.
Correct. Currently, as Greg mentioned, underutilizing the staff salary lines over the previous years. The fire department's been returning more than half of what's been allotted for covering at the fire department. So one of the things when Ben came along is to run optimally, you need 8. It would be a similar structure to how the police department runs with 2 on and sergeants. But we're not ready to be there yet, and there's a lot of conversations that this board needs to have. What we can do is utilize that funding that's currently there in better utilizing it and add some coverage. So you still have to have the paid on calls to respond because you only have one person that's covering, especially at night. During the day, we're better covered. We have some full-time employees that are able to respond in their capacity here, such as Roger, who's ordinance compliance, and the fire inspector. He's someone that's able to go on a priority call should there be a need. So it still takes additional staffing, and that's why the part-time staffing plan seems to be working. But in trying to fulfill and take care of some of the gaps that we currently have, I thought it was a way that we could be creative. It's not optimal yet, and it probably won't be for some time, but it's, again, with the terminology that Greg used, it's a step in the right direction.
So we're using the funds already budgeted.
Correct.
So you're not asking us for more funds.
I'm
You're
not.
just shifting them
It's
to
shifting them.
full-time positions.
Correct.
I think that's helpful for us to know. Thanks, Ben. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions before we wrap this up and move on?
Thank you for the time. I know it ran over, but I thought it was important for you to hear what's currently occurring.
Yeah, this is really helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, all.
Thank you, Ben.
Headed back to our agenda, we're on item 13, unfinished business. A, items for introduction and discussion. B, strategic plan. In your packet is a copy of some materials from the strategic plan, and I think we all have a copy of the strategic plan as well. Karen, is that true?
Yes.
We were all given, okay. Because what's in the packet is not exactly the same as the full plan, right? Thank you. So we have been working on this project all summer. Thank you all for your leadership and your feedback. Personally, I've really enjoyed the depth of the conversations we've gotten to have together about the future of the township and how we want to use our resources and what we want to work on. I think that really has provided me some guidance about where we're headed, and I know Karen feels the same way in terms of the staff, which is what the strategic plan is meant to do. In your packets is the executive summary, as Taylor just mentioned, and you'll see that the objectives are lined out, the intended outcomes. This isn't new for board members. You saw this all in the draft, so I'm not going to read these things to you. Strategic plan responsibilities, there's some acknowledgements. I will say that we've landed on a vision and mission, and I'm not sure if we've ever had a vision and mission before, but we've got a proposed new vision and mission that we all were able to help craft. Name some organizational values, which I think helps staff understand who we want to be and who we think we are. And then the priority goals, and you heard earlier from our public comment from Judy commenting that there's a focus on the Park Lake corridor here. It calls that out. I think that's really helpful for us as we're thinking about where we want to invest, how we implement the capital improvement plan. We now have a plan that will take us through 2028 to help us do that. You'll see there's also delivering efficient and responsive government services. We've heard that, we've been working on that. That's now a priority goal. Promote development across diverse land uses is also a priority goal. The intergenerational connections via that Park Lake Corridor project, I think that's something we all were very excited about for perhaps different reasons, but it's nice to come together around a single goal. Keeping residents engaged and informed. We talked about the communication issue we have with our community. We are constantly getting that feedback. And then upgrading township technology to simplify and streamline. A lot of bringing Bath Township into the modern world is what we talked about, and you'll see in this plan. You'll see that there's key performance indicators as well for each of these items, and then some initial actions that we brainstormed together here in this room in the last workshop together. I'm really excited about this. I think this gives real direction to us, to the township staff, to Karen, about where we want to prioritize our time and efforts. We're getting this as an introduction tonight to discuss a little bit more. This would be on the agenda for October 20th for adoption. And I want to be really clear about what adoption means. Adoption doesn't mean that we're immediately putting all of those things into progress. We're adopting this as our plan and as our structure. As things come about, the changes that we have proposed in here for committees, all of that will take board action separately and will be done more fully and robustly planned alongside staff. So I want to make sure everyone knows that adopting this plan does not thus then put every single piece of it in process. We will still be involved, especially as spending and development is done. We're adopting this, however, as our guiding document. So that's what I will ask us to do 2 weeks from tonight. But tonight we have an opportunity to still discuss this, make any last minute changes. But I feel like this reflects what we have discussed in all of our workshops. I want to draw people's attention. If you have the plan in front of you, there's on page 7 and 8, there's the strategic planning process and the strategic planning cycle. And if folks in the audience or at home want to see this, we can provide the full report to you. But it shows who all was involved in this. Committee chairs were involved in this, stakeholders, community stakeholders were involved, the staff, department directors. Since I have been on the board, and I was on the board a term previously as well, we've never had such a robust effort to bring together the voices of the township to talk about what we want to do, even through our previous strategic planning processes. I think this one was particularly strong in that way. So I want folks to know, who weren't part of the process, other folks were part of the process. We tried to gather, there were business owners that we brought together, community leaders, again, committee chairs. Some of that I got to sit in on and keep my mouth shut, but listen, and it was very, very helpful to hear what the committee what the community values, and where the community thinks we have work to do. I would echo our fire review, Greg. We have a lot of strength, a lot of things that people really appreciate. You'll see that in the value statement and in the vision statement. And then, like every community, we've got some work that we want to do. So that is the strategic plan. We have chosen to build a plan for the remainder of our term, so that a new board could come in and do the next strategic plan as one of their first tasks at the end of 2028, early 2029. So this really does become our plan, the 7 of us as board members in governance, the staff, and then the community at large. Questions, thoughts, feedback from all of you on the process and on the final document?
Since this is the first time we've seen this, I would like to request that we have an opportunity to study it as opposed to going over it line by line tonight.
No, that was not my intent to go
Good.
over it line by line tonight.
You said, let's talk about it. I went, oh my goodness, we're gonna be here till 10 o'clock. So.
No,
we
I
won't.
just feedback, and all of this you've seen a draft of, this
And
is
we've
part of what was,
participated,
and
yeah.
participated in the process, so none of this should be too startling, but yes, I do think what you all should do over the next 2 weeks is study it, and come back for approval on
Agreed.
October 20th, and if there's anything we need to hash out, we can do that. Hopefully it's packaged and has all the feedback that we need, but want to make sure it represents the sort of heart and soul of this group, and I would say the compromise of this group too, about where we're going to spend our time and money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good idea, I think.
What was yours, right?
Not really, but it was my thought. Is there gonna be a test on this?
No. The test is how we carry it out.
Do you have some suggestions, or, I guess suggestions, what would be the best way to carry that out between now and then?
If you could get them to Taylor has sort of been our chief strategic plan wrangler.
Okay.
We can work on them either in between if they're, grammar, words, thoughts, things like that. If they're conceptual and we need to talk about it, we can talk about it on the 20th.
Yeah, I know during the work session we had, I had said I wasn't 100% in love with the wording of the vision and/or mission.
Oh,
And then
that's
I
right.
also neglected to provide any alternatives in the time since then. So if I do that, I would send it to Taylor.
My suggestion would be to provide an alternative in its entirety,
Right.
that we could
Yeah.
say, we like
Yeah,
A or B,
that's what I was thinking.
rather than engaging us in wordsmithing. Other questions, thoughts? Karen, any feedback from the staff through the process or for the final document that you think would be helpful for the board to know?
I will offer another opportunity, but to date, in reviewing what they had put together and what you have put together, I don't believe there's been any feedback. They did appreciate the opportunity to have input and felt listened to. So I do know that that was a valuable exercise for them and hopefully for you.
Great. Anything else before we move on?
This is a good step forward for your vision.
For our vision.
Well, I mean, you spoke of what you'd like to see us accomplish, and
Well, I think
commend
this
you
was
for-
an area of criticism that we received, that we did
Yes.
not have a plan, and we're working forward to a plan, and I thought that criticism had merit, and so we are reacting to that.
agree. Thank you.
And thanks to Larry Merrill for his leadership of this. He was he kept us in line. He had a vision of how to do this, and I think didn't let us get off track, which is, I think, what we need sometimes. And so I extend to him the thanks of the board for working us through this. All right, you'll see that on the agenda then in 2 weeks. That brings us to items for action. So we're on 13, large B, small a, acceptance of the 2026-2030 capital improvement plan. We have our planner here to share that with us. We've seen this before though, right?
I believe so, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
It feels so long ago since our last meeting that I've sort of lost track of what we've done. We did have that extra week.
So any questions from when it was introduced then? I think the large takeaways, if it wasn't pointed out last time, was many departments and kind of community leaders, because of the two plans, which I think we all appreciate being put together, their strategic and the comp plan, which is currently in the works. Many felt they didn't want to submit new projects and kind of wait out what that vision and mission looks like, so the planning commission opted to rescore it very similar, if not exactly the same as last year, added a couple comments, and that's a plan before you now.
I see a lot of connection to the Park Lake corridor, which we just talked about, and which theoretically will be approved in our strategic plan. It does help. In my mind, one of the things that I think is frustrating is I think there's lots of priorities for lots of people in the township, and oftentimes the answer is, let's just write a grant for it. And I don't think people realize that sometimes that can mean those competing priorities might go to the same funder. So if we wanted to ask the community foundation who helped fund our kitchen for a grant, we'd have to pick which of those projects to pitch to them, because sending them 5 grant applications for Bath Township is not a very strategic way to get funding. I think the capital improvement plan plus the strategic plan allows us to say, hey, the kayak project was scored high, it's in the Park Lake corridor, which is in our strategic plan. That's probably what we pitch to the community foundation or to some other funder. The Parks and Rec funding that comes from the state. I think that just helps us figure out what we ask for and what we don't ask for, knowing that maybe in the next go-round and in our next strategic plan, we're prioritizing something different. But I think that helps us say, we can't just ask for a grant for everything. We need to prioritize what we're looking for and prioritize our time and funding. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to with the capital improvement plan plus the strategic plan together. And soon we'll have the comprehensive plan to lay over the top of that. And we'll really have sort of a guide for how we do what we need to do and where we go from here, which I think will be helpful for us in decision-making. Questions, thoughts on capital improvement plan? Anything, Kate, from you on behalf of the planning commission?
No, I would just echo what Miles said, that we essentially, because we're in midst of all these processes, decided to not do anything differently than we did last year, and there were no additional projects submitted that weren't submitted last year. I did have one question related to the comprehensive plan. I know that the Webster, they were gonna be organizing some surveys. Is that process in the works?
Yeah, it was actually, you're kind of like stealing the thunder.
So, sorry.
Jeez, Kate. Jumping the
There
gun.
will be an announcement at the planning commission about the survey and a launch date, but the
Okay.
surveys, the work on the survey's been completed, and a launch date has been set,
Okay, all right.
so stay tuned.
Karen, can you remind us what it means to accept the report tonight?
So essentially, you are accepting the plan, you are not approving it, you are accepting it, and you are able to utilize that plan because it is received and on file at any time during the budgeting process or as we move through into grant writing or recommendations from any of the committees. So you are essentially receiving it from the planning commission, placing it on file, and able to utilize that at any time during the business that you conduct here.
But that process does not necessarily mean all of those
You are
projects
not-
and all of those
correct,
things
you
will
are
be
not
carried out.
approving it and saying, these are the projects we're going to do. You are saying, we will take this plan under advisement at the times we need recommendations.
That's helpful. I know that nuance matters to folks.
Correct.
All right. Other questions, thoughts, or would someone like to make a motion to put this forward?
I'll make that motion to put that forward that Karen just summarized?
The acceptance of the 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan.
There you go.
Great. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll support it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion before we take a vote? Kate?
We had discussed the comments from the planning commission last time about some alternative suggestions for water management at Wiswasser Park. I was just curious if any action had happened in investigating those.
Ben?
I wasn't sure, I couldn't
This is like
see
the
Ben.
Mr.
I didn't
Zeep
know he
show
was still
tonight.
here. Move
Very
seats.
Public service. So we are actually, yes, we expanded the parking lot somewhat to the south. In our engineer drawings for the original, kind of the redesign of that parking lot, it calls for a detention pond in that, it's kind of a triangle parking area, weird, it's not very conducive to parking, actually. So in the time that we're not funding this new project, this new parking lot and the drainage for it, what we're going to do is remove that, we've expanded to the back, remove that triangle area, the limestone that's in there, dig that out, replace that with sod, or not sod, but topsoil, seed it, so that will act as a filter to keep that limestone sediment from washing out onto the playground. We're also going to fill in that curb that as an access that, it's kind of an ADA access, but that it doesn't restrict anybody from rolling onto that playground. There is another access for, to access the playground structure. So it wouldn't impede any handicap or disabled people from.
Or strollers or something like that,
anything
yeah.
like that.
That's the one that goes down on
Yep,
the
it goes
sidewalk?
down, there's some name bricks that are out into the,
Right.
it's kind of a low spot where, that's where the water wants to go. So
Water
we're
used
gonna
to
try
go
to
there.
mitigate that temporarily until we can fund the project to properly create a drainage and detention pond in that area.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Is there any benefit to moving the parking lot completely? Like now that we have all that other space on the other side, is that more conducive to parking and we could just reclaim the parking lot as is as park space?
I don't know.
All right, I don't know either, that's why I
I
asked.
think we need, in our strategic planning, need to think about what other amenities we can utilize that space for other than parking. I know that parking is a problem in the Park Lake corridor. They're adding in a paved parking place with identified parking lines is gonna create much more parking than people just parking willy-nilly all over that gravel lot. So I think adding in those parking spaces, designated parking spaces, is going to help that. And then that is a big open space park, and there's a lot of opportunity for other attractions or playground structures, sport courts, whatever we decide in this plan.
But theoretically, we could put it where the current parking lot is.
Sure, but I think you also want to have parking on, I would say have parking on both ends.
All right,
Just, you don't want to have to walk across the entire park to get to one feature.
all right,
Good point.
thanks. Any other comments or questions on the capital improvement plan?
Thank you, Miles.
Yeah, no worries. Planning
Hearing
commission,
none, we will take a roll call vote.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Catke?
Yes.
Thank you. And give our thanks to the Planning Commission, Miles and Kate, please. Next up is item 13, large B, small b cemetery fees. They say nothing is the same except death and taxes, and I think this is both of those things rolled together. Planner and the clerk.
Or do you want me to just kick off kind of?
Go ahead, yep.
So, this was introduced at the last meeting by, my associate Ally, who did a great job, and very appreciative for her helping me out with some colors there while I was at a conference in Detroit. We heard your feedback, we heard the board's feedback from the last meeting. Me and the clerk got together with some other staff and took a look at where this was at, the different communities that we did comparisons against, determined, what we thought the best path was for our cemetery here in Bath Township, or I should say our cemeteries, multiple. since the township does have two. And we feel the numbers that are presented before the board tonight are easily justifiable for the services this community provided and the cost that, goes into maintaining a survey. One statement that I'd like to point out that is reiterated kind of several times throughout the report is there's many costs that we're able to calculate down to the cent amount of how much it costs the township to administrate such service. One cost that is almost unknowable is the forever maintenance of the cemetery itself. And so, with that in mind and kind of some direction from the board, we went ahead and presented the fee schedule, which is at the tail end of the report. I believe it is page 19 of the report, page 75 of your packet.
I know we had talked about increasing from the recommendation last time. Is that what you're saying
These are
happened?
increases,
Okay.
yeah.
So this just has the increase, doesn't have the previous or current
Because
amount?
this is
Correct.
ready for a vote, we've
Okay.
included a clean copy today.
Okay.
Thank you for taking that feedback. Brenda, is there anything you wanted to add?
So the increases that we did before was just to make it even for right now. And it was suggested by the board here to increase it in case we don't make increases for another 3 to 5 years, so that we can maintain it. We also compared our fees to Meridian Township. Meridian Township was much like ours because they have limited spaces available. So we increased it a little bit more for non-residents because we're running out of space and we need to have, to me, we need to have the lots for our residents. It's been said many times over the years that I've worked here, people just come here and place people because we're cheap. So, so that's kind of what we did. We increased the fees. I don't think they're out of line. I don't know if you guys have any questions on them.
Seems very reasonable to me.
And
So-
there's no distinguishing fees anymore for a cremation spot versus a full burial spot? Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Correct.
Even though, is there still gonna be a section at the Rose Cemetery just for cremations, but they'll all still be the same price?
But it's the same size lot anyway.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That
didn't
was
know
the issue.
that.
That was our
We didn't
issue.
know that till Miles went out and was talking to DPW and stuff, and they're very, very close to being the same size lot.
Yeah, and we totally
Okay.
understood where the original fee schedule's intent was, because I would assume too, prior to looking at all this, but it's just smaller areas, so smaller costs, less personnel, but in the end, it is the same exact burial.
Are there-
It's a similar burial process and the same exact maintenance procedure.
Right. Are there any rules or guidelines that have to be followed for, are we calling them lots, plots?
You mean as far as
Sizes?
size, or?
Size, yeah, or distance between setbacks?
6 feet.
You have to have it big enough for a casket, that's
Yeah.
like,
There are standard, I don't know if
Yeah.
there's rules or laws, but there are standard practices
Okay.
within this industry.
So at some point in the future, if, again, space were to become an issue, could we look into doing smaller plot sizes specifically
I think
for
one thing-
cremations?
Brenda, you can speak
Not
to-
necessarily for a reduced rate, but maybe a greater capacity.
Brenda, you wanna speak to this one better than me about, there are structures actually for cremation.
That goes above ground and you, I forgot what they're called, guys.
It's like a little
the crematorium?
crematorium
No.
apartment
Mausoleum.
complex.
Mausoleums.
Or a cow burial.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right, so we are kind
Area.
of looking
Yeah.
at that with the spaces we have available.
Sounds like some kind of Italian.
But we need to get the fees updated and we need to get our rules and regulations and ordinance updated. So we're working on that this year. And then that's gonna be something else we're looking at also.
Okay, cool, because it seems like there's a lot of demand for that, so just to be the most efficient with the space that we do have, seems
Our
like it makes sense going
ordinance has
forward.
been updated since 1994. I wanna start there first.
Yeah,
And
but
get that
just
updated, and then
Thinking
we
about
can
maybe the next
advance.
time around.
Yep.
Brenda's campaign promise was to build the wall.
I do have to share with you, we are very close to getting the cemetery program online.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
that, we're very close. It'll be a little bit, but we're getting there.
How close?
6 months, maybe.
I would like to say by the beginning of next
I
year,
went-
but we'll see.
So
What?
you'll be able
Wow,
to- You'll
that's
be able
only
to
2
go to our
months.
website and actually do your own search.
You can look up your
You can
ancestors.
you
You
can
can
be
go
your
in
own
and
sexton.
Yep,
That's
you
great.
can go search to see, and I think you should be able to see if there's any availability. Yeah.
You
should be
can
able to see
already,
all.
there's already like find a grave.
Yes.
That's
Mhm.
in there, but that's not through our
Correct.
No.
website. Okay.
Yeah. Because we used Find a Grave to get a lot of information and download pictures to put into our system that we have,
Cool.
so.
Hey, you're the treasurer, you're not supposed to be talking about that stuff.
I did that when I was the
Oh, you
deputy treasurer,
did.
so I did a lot of that.
Excellent.
So
Did you sign
I
it?
know a lot of that stuff.
Actually, a lot of people have helped with that. Ben helped. I mean, put
Everybody
the,
did.
everybody,
Everybody's inputted information.
What haven't you
Everybody-
done?
Cemetery program.
Can I ask
we
you
have a
one-
great team here and everybody helps everybody else. When you're
They all
slow
have
and
a
something
foot in the
else is
grave.
needed.
Yeah.
One
We all chip
segue
in.
question. We talked, Karen has mentioned it before about that land that used to be owned by, I believe, a church, a nonprofit. Has there been any concrete progress or anything on maybe acquiring that?
No.
We
No.
may need that for, expanding.
In order
the-
to do that, I would have to seek permission from the board to proceed with that. It's a property, obtaining property, so.
Before it's grabbed out from underneath us, maybe we need to take a look at that.
My suggestion would be to wait for the, what are we calling it? The campus?
Campus assessment.
Assessment?
Campus
Because I think
Facilities.
that will come out in that,
How long?
along with other things.
When is that transpiring?
2026.
Excuse me?
2026. It's in the budget for
Oh, oh, oh,
2026.
oh, okay. And that will be through consultants or something of that
Yeah,
nature?
yeah,
Okay,
we'll work with the consultant.
Thanks.
All right, this is up for action tonight. Would anyone like to move forward with approving the new cemetery fees?
I would- Go ahead. You go ahead.
Approve the updates to the Bath Township Cemetery fee schedule as presented.
Second.
I'll second it.
Well, we have a motion in 2 seconds.
Sure, I was gonna say, sure, you got
I'll
it before you.
third it then.
Sure, yeah.
These would then take effect immediately?
Once we approve it.
Yep.
All right. Do board members get discounts?
No.
Do we get we don't get a
You should
discount?
have bought them yesterday
You
or
didn't have
today.
advance warning, this is happening.
Can I
It was
ask
a
a
fire
dumb
sale
question before we
yesterday.
vote?
We've never
Is there-
stopped you before.
Is there, yeah, that's true. Is there a limit to how many cremated people you can put in a specific,
Yes.
Right now, it's 2
it's two, okay.
per lot.
Per,
Per,
Two
not,
urns.
not per lot.
yes,
Per grade.
per
But
grave.
inside the urn,
What's the difference between a lot and a grave?
It's supposed to be one.
Usually 2 or 4 graves.
but no one's checking, right?
Interesting.
Well, you can only give us 2 cremation certificates, and those are the 2 people we will show that will be buried there.
This is what currently says in our rules and regulations and our ordinance.
Got it.
When we review it, we'll see what goes on.
There's no like public health rules about that.
That's stuff we have to look
Oh,
into.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. That wasn't dumb at all.
I didn't think so, but
Well-
you have a different opinion quite often.
No, never. All right, we've got a motion and a second, and I think this probably goes to roll call, yeah?
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yeah.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes,
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kotke?
Very much so, yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you, that motion carries. We have new cemetery fees. That brings us to item 14, new business, large A, items for introduction and discussion. We have the Support Emergency Operations Plan. Our chief, as we heard, is out, but we have Ben here again to save the day.
So if you've had a moment to take a look at that, what this is a guiding framework for larger scale emergencies that would potentially take place in our community. This is a support plan to work in conjunction with the county's emergency operation plan. And when I became the interim fire chief, it was brought to my attention that this was kind of out of compliance and hadn't been updated. And what that means is we would be ineligible for any funding in case one of those natural disasters, major cyber attack, weather event, anything that impacted our community where we would need additional funding, we wouldn't be able to get that. And we don't currently have support operations plan on file with the county. So currently, we're not able to receive any funding for emergency support. if you look through this, in the appendixes, it kind of it gives an overview of what each department and is their role in this plan in the event of emergency, right from superintendent to the board action, down to police department, fire department, public works, and how you guys would all participate in some sort of large-scale emergency. If you guys decide to vote on this and put it through, it will be then, once it's finalized, be submitted to the county to go into addition to their emergency support plan and be carried out through, we would have to, what I'm looking for, initiate an emergency or declare an emergency, and that would be paid out through state funds through the governor's office.
This body has to do that?
I believe that the superintendent, as a local official, has to make that determination.
You can designate that, Karen?
I think it's the supervisor.
Or I'm sorry, supervisor.
You knew it started with an S.
Yeah,
I get them mixed up all the time.
Yeah, the supervisor.
Signature here. Ryan's
Oh,
name.
I see.
Yes.
Page
Well, I
88
know
of the
a good
packet.
disaster when I see one, so,
All right, get on that, Brad.
Page 88.
all right. So in this plan, I noticed that the fire chief sort of takes lead. Does that mean in terms of sort of reporting up that the police chief would work under the fire chief in designated emergencies?
Not necessarily. What we do is what's called, so we have a whole incident command system, where in large-scale incidents, we have what's called unified command, where we would have the police chief, the fire chief, the superintendent, kind of as our command post, in our command post, but under them, we would have a branch of finance and planning and operations and other resource support. And under those divisions, we would have, it just kind of works, as the incident grows, we would add more branches to the tree. So
Okay.
in large scale, you would have multiple officials from different departments in the command role, in the command position, directing their individual departments or geographic designations in the command system. And this just lays out, this is not a specific step-by-step on what to do. It is whose responsibilities are, of what these responsibilities are of each department.
How, first of all, how do the Bath Community School District, how will they play in? Do they have, they must have some kind of a plan like that, don't they, already?
Possibly. I don't know, I can't speak for the school, but
Yeah.
they have resources that we may need as far as equipment. Maybe they kind of play part of, like the public works, where if we're clearing roads or in, search and rescue, that kind of falls under fire department. Administratively, I don't know exactly what their part is in the operation.
That was kind of what I was thinking.
Well,
That was gonna be my question, Ray, in terms of, it's very likely that one of these human-caused critical incidents could originate at the school.
Yeah.
In reality, or in the swatting that is happening now, where there's not actually an incident, but it comes in usually through dispatch, is hearing about it first, and the schools don't even know that it's happening, and then all of these first responders show up at the school, and the school doesn't know what's going on. I think it would be important to at least have a, I don't know, discussion with the school leadership in terms of their portion of this plan, and if we're all showing up, who's our go-to person, and who gets to be the one who's calling the shots, or how do we call the shots together to manage this type of incident? Because I know they just had one at Okemos High School last week, and it was very confusing for a lot of people, because I don't think those, that structure was in place really ahead of time. So I think that that would definitely be something to consider, just because of the likelihood that that entity is what you would perhaps be responding to.
So we have had, if I may, active violence training with the police department and members of emergency services, first responders at the school. I won't speak for Police Chief Mardigan, but he has established some of those relationships, and now that Chief Kunter is on board, it is my goal to have us reach out and have some of those meetings with community members, stakeholders, schools, of course, as, you know, the world we live in is not improving, so, but have some of those conversations with leadership, so we are all on the same page.
Do we have a copy of the school's emergency plan?
We do not.
That's something we
It's
should
very
definitely
possible
get.
the chief of police has it, and it probably is not something that's shared publicly, but I will ask and have that conversation with him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have to have a board-approved emergency plan that is public, so we
They
should
may.
definitely have.
I'm just saying there
like, you should
may
have a
be
copy
some
of
other
that,
things
too.
that, yeah.
One thing that seems to stand out to me before I got on any board, you know, or became involved, was how distant the school board in this group seems to be. I was surprised, actually, you know, through my ignorance, that they weren't part of this group, you know, and just so that you know what's going on and you have your finger on a pulse, you know.
Don't forget, we have 4 different school districts.
Well, I
in
know
the
that,
area.
but we do have a Bath School Board here, and I just think we should be more involved with, you know, being more in concert with them and, you know, them with us.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Other questions, thoughts?
So our goal would be to bring back the adopting resolution to this plan to you on the 20th. But in the meantime, just as with the strategic plan, should you work through this and have any questions, Ben, Taylor, and I would be available to you to have any conversations or clear up any, you know, misinformation or questions that you may have prior to that meeting, or of course at that meeting.
Great. Thank you. That brings us to 14, new business. Item B, items for action, small a, resolution honoring Ben Zeeb. It is the Ben Zeeb show tonight. We've already presented this resolution, so I would kindly ask you all to approve it at this point. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-10, honoring Ben Zeeb for service and commitment beyond call of duty.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, thoughts, comments?
Thanks again, Ben.
All right, let's take a roll call vote.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes,
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kaki?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
No doubt. All right, that resolution passes. Again, thank you, Ben, and thank your family for their commitment to the township as well. And there's lots of houses in the township for sale, so. That brings us to item 15, the superintendent's report.
Have a nice evening, sir.
No, you go home, Mr. Z.
Go read to your children or something. Thank you for a very engaged meeting. Staff very much appreciates the opportunity to participate in planning such as the strategic plan, the capital improvement plan, the emergency response plan. These are all valuable things that help us to be more nimble. Over the years as superintendent, it has been frustrating when the Clinton County Road Commission or other agencies approach us and ask us if there's a project in the hopper that we could accomplish because something else has, another project in another community has fallen behind. And we just haven't been nimble enough to be able to proceed when those opportunities present themselves. And I feel like we are establishing these plans and, in effect, giving this community equal footing in the area in terms of planning and being able to take advantage of those opportunities. So I appreciate this. I know staff will appreciate this. Having your goals and understanding where competing priorities can be worked through with plans like these is really valuable for us. So we appreciate that. And it helps, you know, my work with you as a group as well. So we really appreciate that. On a note, Trustee Hagerman, you had asked about MERS training for our employees that have both the defined benefit, which is currently only the union employees now, and then the non-union and the defined contribution plans. We have held 2 trainings at differing times of the day so that people with different shifts could attend. We had, I think, 7 in the first training, and we had, was it 2 or 3? 3 in the second one. So overall, we had approximately 10 employees out of the 22 non-union, and then additionally, the union employees take advantage of that. So we will continue to keep our ears to the road and try to hear for those opportunities when people need additional information. We have been talking today in the office about wrapping up some of the work that needs to be done as a result of both of those actions by this board for the DB and the DC. And we'll be reaching out to legal and our other consultant, Rod Taylor, to help us kind of proceed with some of the next steps in those processes. But we still have some work to do to get both of the plans in place. That has been kind of frustrating for us. I will also let you know, I can't recall if I let you know this at the last meeting before I was on medical leave. The City of DeWitt, the Township of DeWitt, and myself, Ben attended that meeting with me, met with the U of M team that is going through our contract with Eaton area, and it's been very frustrating for us. U of M has still not signed the contract, and it still will be, it'll still be, the effective date will still be at the beginning of June. It is unclear to me what the holdup is, other than it is U of M. Not to criticize that, but the machine that is U of M, legal, accounting, have all been involved in the contract, and I'm unclear why more participation didn't take place in the beginning of the process.
In the initial process.
Instead of at the end of the process, for them to be involved in signing this contract. So we are holding their feet to the fire. We met with their team via a Zoom call from DeWitt Township and had, I won't say a promise, but sorry, I'm not finding the word.
Soft commitment.
Commitment is a good word, from their accounting team to work through this contract by the end of October. I will keep you posted. In the meantime, they are still providing the service.
I see their trucks all the time.
Yes, so I don't want any of you to think that they are not. One thing that was very valuable during that meeting is there are times of the days and weeks where there are multiple calls taking place at the same time, which could appear as a dropped call. What is occurring is that there are times, of course, when DeWitt Township has several calls, Bath Township may have several calls, and they're competing, their ALS are competing to provide service to both of those communities at the same time. So what we are seeing is there are no dropped calls, it's just they are providing service, they're just in another community providing service at that time. So we will continue to watch those numbers from Clinton County Dispatch. We will continue to look at Eaton's and meet with them on a quarterly basis to make sure that they are fulfilling their end of the contract, even prior to having it signed. But I can tell you that people are seeing them, people are receiving service from them, and it is a vast improvement from the service that we were receiving before. So I feel good about it. I wish the signing process would move a little faster, but we will continue to, as I said, hold their feet to the fire and move through that process. Should anything substantial in that contract change, I will bring it back to you. I don't foresee anything at this point. I think it's a legal process, an accounting process for them. But like I said, if anything substantial changes, such as I brought it back to you one other time for a liability insurance issue, I will bring that back to you to have discussion and to approve that. But I will keep you posted, and we will hopefully see that process come to an end by the end of this month.
And it's stuck in U of M Health, right? It's not
Correct.
like the university has to
No,
manage
it's
this.
U of M Health. You are
Okay.
correct.
That's
Yes.
helpful.
So, yep. Frustrating, but we'll keep moving forward.
U of M Health, which is going away at the end of the year?
So the health plan is going.
Health
health
plan is going
plan,
away.
okay.
Yes.
The entity is not.
The entity is not, okay.
Anything else?
Not at this time. If you have any questions for me, though, please feel free to ask.
Questions of the superintendent?
Not at this time.
Commitment. Thanks for filling in that word for me.
Soft
I couldn't find it.
All right, well, thank you, superintendent, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Item 16 on our agenda is public statement 2, limited to 3 minutes on any topic. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Welcome.
Hi, some of you know me, I'm Debbie Mercer. I have a couple questions. You did a lot of really good work tonight. This township moves slowly, but there were some really good things, and so it was worth the 2-hour wait to talk. I did call somebody here last week, but my response, I never received a response, so here I am. I haven't been here and participated in a while, so I apologize for my ignorance. We are not up to date on this. The capital improvement plan and the strategic plan that you're referring to, does this replace the DDA that was eliminated several years ago?
No, they're two separate things.
Okay, so we have been here 17 years. I know that I am not alone in my frustration that there is not one place in this small community where you can even meet somebody for a cup of coffee. No place. Is there a plan for this to go forward to make this a better quality of living for people that live here?
Well, that's a private industry issue, and our role isn't to engage in specific private industry development, but you'll see in the strategic plan, there is an interest in economic development. So if private industry wants to come in, we would welcome that through our
Because
ordinances.
I haven't been under the impression that that's been encouraged over the years. Now we have a food bank and we have marijuana and we have a lot of things, but, you know, it seemed like we had a downtown little restaurant and it wasn't supported, and there's not and so you said this is all private, this development of a downtown with sidewalks and cute little lamps and things like that, and some places that people can shop. But is there any movement to encourage this with people?
Go ahead.
We have a gas station going down here by the expressway. It's supposed to be started now. It hasn't been because of the paperwork through the state. But there's gonna be a food court in there, so there will be a place that you could,
And while I think that's helpful.
or go to the senior center and
Yeah.
get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I don't want to go to senior center. I just want some place where I can say, hey, let's go meet for coffee. You
I
know?
do think there's a coffee shop opening up here.
There is.
At the
Good,
Four
well,
Corners.
that's good.
At the Four
And
Corners.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
within the downtown development, I mean, I was so excited when we first moved here and they had a big meeting, what do people want to see? And they put lights and they put all this stuff. Yeah, never happened. So, you know, and that's great that there's a coffee shop going up
Yeah.
and that there's a gas station with a food court. But, you know, unless there's a plan, then it's all haphazard and it doesn't develop and it doesn't give you that community feel that happens when you have a plan. So, I'm just wondering.
Well, I think we'd all welcome any sort of thoughts you have about what that could look like for us.
Because I went to the DDA several years ago. I used to go to all of these meetings, and I said to them, you know, it would be really cute if you developed the downtown and you had like a campaign, and Meridian High School had this years ago when I was an educator there, and you can buy seats and engrave your names and like important dates on that. That's a fundraiser. I said you could do bricks and you could pave, and people could do birthdays and anniversaries and babies, and it could be cute, and it could be develop the quaintness and develop the history. And they said, yeah, we'll look into it and we'll see about a grant for next year, and that never happened. So.
Yeah, I think you've seen the frustration that the board had with the DDA, which is why it does not exist anymore.
We do have Bengal,
Yeah.
and that's a place, if you haven't been there yet, that's,
Oh, I've been there.
Okay.
Yes, I've been there. But you know, it's mostly at night.
Yeah, I
And
know.
you know, it's the bands and it's things, but it's, you know, I want to go somewhere with my friends and say, hey, let's meet for lunch, you know, here, not go to Meridian, but here. Anyway, that's my comment.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Debbie.
Thank you.
Any other public statement? All right, seeing none, we'll close public statement 2.
You forgot your purse.
whoops. Keys.
And those, all the strategic plan and everything, we can get a copy of that online somewhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
We'll make sure.
thanks.
Is she moving you?
Board member- We'll go.
I mean, I'll take you home.
Yeah, they don't even know each other.
I didn't know if they knew each other.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They're married.
All right, so board member comments. We started with Sherry last time, so we'll start with Kate this time.
Sorry, I flipped away from my notes. One thing I really appreciated about both the strategic planning process and a little bit at this board meeting was the opportunity to discuss how we as a board get updates from the various entities, whatever they are. For example, I really appreciated Ben's update tonight about the fire department, like, this has been happening, this has been happening, this is in the works, this is what we're looking for, maybe by the end of the year. I thought that that was honestly kind of more what I expected being on the board of trustees would be like. You would kind of know what's happening in the different departments or committees or groups or whatever. And I know we had a pretty extensive conversation about this with our strategic planning process, and I really hope that we are able to incorporate that as a more regular, predictable, rotating schedule, because I would really like to hear what's going on in the police department, what's going on in the building department, what's going on in the planning department, maybe even what's going on in the assessing department, et cetera. Just so that I feel like it's kind of our job, like people kind of expect that if they elect us to this position that we kind of know. And I know Jen and Brenda probably know because you work here every day, but the rest of us, I feel like I don't know, and I don't want to take up their work day nosing around and what are you doing and what's going on. But the opportunity for them to kind of give us a formal update and answer some questions here or there, I think is helpful for us on the board. And then Greg's suggestion about like get to know the fire department or get to know the board or get to know each other, I thought was pretty cool. I've actually never been in that building, so I think that would be something that I would look forward to attending if it were organized. And then same thing. I've never been in the police station either, so.
Sure.
Expanding that. Yeah.
That's not what we've heard, Kate.
it's pretty much a police office, it's not.
Yes, thanks, Kate.
Unless you count booked it, no.
Al?
I have nothing.
Thanks. Brenda?
We had thanked Ben Zabe for helping out, with the interim fire chief. I also want to thank Cody Baird for stepping up and being the foreman while Ben was out helping the fire department. Cody did a really good job also.
That's a great point.
So,
Thanks.
yep.
Anything else?
Nope.
I've got a couple of items. My sort of myth of the meeting, there's some accusations that the strategic plan gets rid of public engagement, and I just want to publicly say that that's not what we're doing. I think if you read the strategic plan, one of the whole goals is around public engagement and communication with the public, so I want the public to hear that from us. All of you should have received an email from me over the weekend about Karen's review. We have to agree on the items, and then Karen has to agree to the items, so I asked if you could email me back by Friday any thoughts you have. And if the thoughts are just, this is good and let's do what you've proposed here, that's great. If you have other thoughts, please let me know. The next step will be presenting that to Karen and for her to agree to those items as well. I think we've got a real opportunity here with the fire plan, the strategic plan, the capital improvement plan, the other plans that we've pulled together, that we are pulling together. I think we're gonna really have like a thing here, an idea of what we're doing, where we're going together. Not to say we haven't had that in the past, but I think all of these things lining up, I think will really help guide us in terms of how we spend our time and energy, and I just want to reiterate that. And then lastly, I've asked Lizzie to re-engage on the board rules conversation that we have had, and I bring that up mostly because Karen and I went to a session up at Shanty Creek with MTA I guess it's been a month ago, and one of the things that they proposed was changes to your agenda, and I thought it was really interesting. The agenda they proposed was very different than ours, and I'm not saying we should scrap ours altogether, but I do think there are some things that we could take out and add in. One of the things, Kate, being perhaps regular departmental updates.
Yes.
And so that, I think you will see a recommendation from me on some of the board rules changes, so we can finally put that document to bed. Although it's evolving and changes, but I know some of us have been waiting for some of those changes. So I appreciate Lizzie's effort and her colleagues in helping us to get that done. And that's it for me.
I don't have anything tonight.
But you got to report next month, or next week.
That's
right,
yes.
2 weeks.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Taylor to be behind the curtain, because I was always, for lack of a better term, complaining about us not utilizing these giant 97-inch screens. And I think Karen and yourself have done an outstanding job at stepping up to the task. I appreciate it very much.
Yes,
and I think the audience probably does too. So, and also, whenever we have a statement from the supervisor that says we're not gonna have a meeting because of lack of agenda items, I think that's impossible. Because right here is enough to keep us busy for a year.
Yeah.
And if you need something to put on a Monday night, say, well, you know, we don't have standard agenda items, but we're gonna go over the support emergency operations plan once again, so we're familiar with it. I just don't think that, in good conscience, we should have days that we don't come in, since that's only twice a month. And the last thing is, the 425 area. I still don't get that. And I don't even know how I got on it. I think I was on Fetch GIS, but anyway, it said that in 99 years or 90 years, that area will revert to East Lansing ownership, totally.
DeWitt.
It said East Lansing.
No,
And
it's
it is.
Lansing and DeWitt.
We have two.
We have two agreements.
Oh,
We
well,
will
anyway.
take the land back from East Lansing, and we will give the land back to DeWitt.
Okay, well,
And talk to Beth, the assessor, she knows that.
yeah, well, I just wanna be more informed than that. I wanna know why in the heck can't we get that back?
Because the
We
people
signed an
voted on
agreement
it.
saying we can't.
Yeah, I know, there were two, there was an excerpt on it. I can't remember where I read that, but anyway, it was online somewhere, and it said that basically two part-time students or something weren't satisfied with our call times or something like that, and so they brought all that about, and I'm thinking, how could they do that and have it be so permanent that we can't even get our own township?
Well, the
Yes.
previous
Boundaries
board
back.
approved it, that's why.
That, and it went to the voters, I thought. too.
Well, can we
I don't think
unapprove
it went to the
it, is what I'm
voters, no.
asking.
He did.
That's-
agreement would not go to the voters, but a 425 agreement is also a method to avoid a city annexing parts of your township, which means taking them entirely away, never to be returned.
That's what East Lansing was trying to do.
Yes, so a 425 agreement can be a protective mechanism to avoid or reduce the impact of that and also postpone. So it is certainly something that had to be voted upon by the board. But it is I would say, a less barbaric to townships approach to managing who's providing what service and getting what tax revenue, et cetera.
So can we just 425 Benzeeb into Bath Township?
Just his little personal.
Annex his
land.
house.
Service to do a township, I'm gonna stand mute.
So anyway, it seems like alchemy, and I've always wanted to know, what the heck, you know? I remember when it transpired, and at that time, I couldn't understand it, but anyway, how they could have that much power to annex. And in regards to the statement you made about somewhat protecting the township, about them trying to annex, you're not saying that the 425 that we have in that confined area puts a wall around Bath Township in protection about annexation, are you? Isn't it just that area?
No, sir, it is a way to deflect a then current effort or idea about annexing, because there is a process that requires a state boundary commission to get involved in deciding who and when and how much is going to be taken by a city and what the township's position would be. So it's called annexation. It is something that, I'm proud to say that one of the first name partners on my firm was really active in on behalf of townships, when it was becoming extremely popular 35, 40 years ago. And he also was one of the folks that was involved in creating something called detachment, which is the process of a township basically give me your parts of your city. There are all these interesting mechanisms, but an Act 425 agreement is designed to avoid needing to go through the State Boundary Commission and all sorts of other processes and have the two municipalities work out together what is the term under which certain things are going to happen. And sometimes it happens in the context of a township isn't well positioned, for instance, to offer sufficient infrastructure to a burgeoning area that's like right on your borders, whereas the city that may be, or another community is, and so there are agreements that are put together through a partnership to figure out what's the best path and when will we be better positioned to maybe take on that next leap. They are typically, it typically takes a long time to negotiate those, and I certainly wasn't around to do this one. But I can say that we do these on a somewhat regular basis as a way to retain some control, and again, revenue is usually one large factor of that. But there can be a variety of reasons people are involved in 425 agreements. So there is no wall. Somebody talked about a wall today.
That was me.
There is no wall built around the township, but a 425 agreement is a way to ensure that you at least will not be fighting, so to speak, over that particular area, because you have a deal. You have something in place that outlines what is going to happen and when.
And isn't there things that we can do as a township to protect ourselves from annexation? Isn't there like a list of services we have to offer? It's like garbage service is one of them.
Yeah, a variety of things that people will often want to have their services from a city on, because the cities typically have, again, they have the ability to do income taxes, among other things. They can have higher levies in general. So they provide services, and again, usually on your border areas is where this comes up, where they're right next to a city who can get, I don't know, when I lived in the city of Saginaw, it was mosquito control and garbage and all of these, I was like, this is amazing. I was also paying for it.
Yeah.
And so there are a variety of things. That's not my particular expertise, but certainly if the board wanted further follow-up, I could just have a 5-minute phone conference with Bill Fahey and have all of the details for you, because he basically wrote it.
It alarmed me at how, it's almost all the way up to Webster Road. And I thinking, what the heck does that have to do, them taking that much geography from Bath Township just for the purposes of serving Chandler Crossing with fire and EMS, I don't understand the whole process, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
I will also, free of charge, look up, I'm pretty sure.
I'm gonna write that down.
It's on recording. I will also see, it's entirely possible that our firm has put together some newsletters on that topic that will be available on our website, but to the extent that we have, I will distribute those to the superintendent.
Appreciate it, I'd like to educate myself on that, at least, maybe I won't be so frustrated after all.
Yeah, I will know, not to interrupt for comments if I could, but I remember being pregnant with my son, so 23, 24 years ago, standing in the field with Larry Merrill, who we had here as our strategic plan coordinator, and fighting the potential annexation of that area. So it very well could have ended in an annexation and ended in an agreement, so. Retaining some control and receiving, money for services is obviously a better ending than taking it from us. Because that's where cities are limited.
Yeah.
They go up, but in order to spread out, they have to take it from somebody, and it's usually townships.
Yeah.
Well, East Lansing's poor now, so maybe they wanna give it back.
And one thing that this latest quandary in my brain came up was, why does it revert to East Lansing? Because that's what it said, after 90 or 99 years, it reverts to East Lansing. What the heck, why doesn't it revert back to us? They're the ones that took it from us.
They wanted it.
I see that.
And the deal was negotiated, so, but I can pull those agreements as well, if that's something you're interested in seeing. We have those on file.
It's helpful, I think, background for us to understand, because of the two being so close to each other too, it's weird.
It is.
Anything else, Ray?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
For me?
Yeah. As I understand it, the contract runs out in 2033 for that 425.
Okay.
I talked to Niles about it.
Miles?
Miles.
Okay.
And they are kind of beginning to work. But the problem is, we have a lot of money into the sewers in DeWitt Township. And if it would go back, they would have to pay us for that,
East Lansing would or DeWitt?
DeWitt. If it goes back to DeWitt. It depends on who it goes back to.
Yeah, this article did not say anything about it going back to DeWitt. It specifically stated East Lansing, and that was,
No, there's two.
Well, there's two different.
yeah, and it didn't
The
mention
one is
anything about
the
that.
DeWitt one. That would go back to DeWitt. But we'll get the copy of the, and we'll all
Thank you,
understand
Lizzie.
it better.
Because isn't all those apartments on the other side where the old airport was? That's all DeWitt, and we have the 425 for us.
Yeah.
And
the
what was
opposite
the
way.
name of the airport back over there?
Davis.
Davis Airport.
Davis, yeah.
I've
I
actually
couldn't
flown
remember.
out of that airport. That's how
Me too.
old I am.
Me too.
That's not that old.
No, it's not. And you know, the cement is still there, that spot that's unoccupied.
Well, I know you know the Wright brothers, so that was
Yeah.
great.
We went to different schools together.
Went to different schools together. Sherry, bring this thing home. Okay. Land this plane, Sherry.
Sherry, any comments?
Real quick, I'm so pleased that, I was so upset by the fire trucks with carrying a load of water with 20-some-year-old tires when the standard is 3 to 4 years of changing the front tires. We could have killed our guys. And I think the computer system will obviate that, because this is before any of us were.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing that was allowed to happen, and I think that's disastrous. We could have killed our guys. If you blow a front tire out in one of those rigs, they're gonna roll. And I'm so pleased that we've got a system looking like it's coming to fruition to protect against any single person that's not managing things correctly, and that's what I think we need. That's it.
Thanks, Sherry.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we've got a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Is there a
Third.
second? All right, we got it. All